You hate capitalism, but you serve it. You would rather serve capitalism than serve your man, the man that was put here to protect you.
Yeah, but does your man make enough money so that you don't have to work? This is my thing. These are, if we're talking about family units, these are two people. They get to decide what happens in their unit. And reality is some men are not going to be able to provide all that they can. Talk about.
And why is that? She's just explained to you that because you flooded the market with labor, it became cheaper. How are you doing, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. Now, I found this really interesting debate on Dr. Duff's show, which is Feminist versus Anti-Feminist Women, Part 1. Now, this is a debate against these two parties, and they are all female. And I would like you to listen in, because this is really interesting. If you want to go forward in how we interact with women, relationships, marriage, raising children, it's important that the women who have really been the cause of a lot of the trouble we have right now in relationships actually discuss this themselves, because by and large, men, we've said our bit, and other than the simps, we really are in unison. So let's listen in on this particular topic. The sexual revolution has devalued women and made them infinitely more unhappy. Let's listen in to what they're saying.
The sexual revolution has devalued women and made them infinitely less happy. Yes, yes, yes. No, no, maybe. Okay. Whoever feels strongly about it can speak.
I think that this term, calling it a sexual revolution, is quite strange, and it distorts history.
I think it's obvious to you who are the feminists and who are the traditional women. It's all quite obvious. The tattoos, the colored hair. I haven't seen the septum ring yet, but it's there somewhere. And of course, those specs.
Look at the history of like the way that people engaged in sex. It really has not quite changed much. The only thing that we've seen change for the most part is the rise in social media and the rise of seeking out sexual relationships through that. Because you can go back through history and look at like the Greeks and the Romans that were very openly sexual. People were having sex in public. Like it was not a private thing. It never was. And it really only became like this private thing when you look at like the rise of like industrialism in the United States, and you see sex become like commodified, and it became like a dirty thing, with also the rise of, you know, like religion and Protestantism in the US also kind of demonized it, and it became a weapon used against women. And I think that we've seen the pendulum go from like being hypersexual in the past, where sex wasn't like a commodified thing or it wasn't a demonized thing, to kind of going through this period of like demonizing people for exploring their sexuality or things like that. And now we've kind of come back out the other side, where some people abuse it, some people don't. And I think that you have to have moderation. I've said that.
Now, let me first of all give you this, because this talking point has been there by a lot of feminists saying how it's always been like this, people have always been promiscuous. That is a lie. And she mentioned the upcoming of religiosity. Actually, right now we are less religious than we've ever been. But there's something she's missing out on. She's mentioning people are doing all these things, yes, during the Roman times, the Greeks. Just before their civilizations came to an end, they started to engage in this. So she doesn't even realize she's actually giving one of the reasons why a lot of these civilizations came apart. They had no discipline. The men had no discipline. The women had no discipline. They couldn't have serious relationship. Everybody was just thinking, oh, let's just live how we want. Yes, exactly. And that's what brought it to an end. And you see, the thing is, they keep on talking about exploring and doing this. All this is feminist talk, where they're just telling women, in other words, just be whores until you get married. And we are seeing that happening right now, isn't it?
This before, like, as far as devaluing women, I think that the problem with devaluing women who are open about their sexuality or commodify their own sexuality and take control over it is a problem with patriarchy, and I think it's a problem with misogyny. I don't think it's a feminism problem.
And you see, it's always the case when they are doing degenerate things and when they are called out on it. Of course, it's misogyny and the patriarchy and all this nonsense. I mean, do they have better arguments to make? Because what they are doing is irrevocably destroying society. It has destroyed a lot of the West. We are seeing some kind of resurgence in traditionalism, but it's not really, I don't believe it's going to get to a point where it's really back unless men do something about it. The laws have to be changed, the behavior, the culture. There's so much to change. But as you see with the feminists, they're always arguing from the same playbook that has not worked for 60, 70 years. They want to be, at the same time, want to be extremely promiscuous. At the same time, they want to be treated like the best women, the most disciplined women. The problem with promiscuity, as it's always been, it shows the character of the woman or the man. It shows you have no discipline. It shows you have no self-control. So it shows you're still immature. And that's why it's a problem. And it doesn't lead to anything. Single mother homes that are full of children who are indisciplined, who come out there as young adults and destroy the world, they repeat what their parents did. So a lot of these narratives by the feminists, usually they've gotten rather tedious. But let's hear what the conservative women are going to say.
I would say that when you put yourself out there to be overtly sexual, and you don't give men anything to work for, so you lessen your value. So if you want women to be valuable, then having a lot of sex with men, being just out there, not caring about how you present yourself, that is not going to make you happy. You're actually sadder now. You're not happy. And I think that, women tend, like all species, one thing we know is that we're here to be with each other. You can try to look at it like we're not equal. We provide equal value. And men can do things that women simply can't. You have,
Can I ask what?
Before she continues, this is a narrative that goes on so much that we have equal value. The thing is, if we have to be realistic, no, we don't. But if you are going to look at survival of the fittest, survival of the society, of the species, you have to agree, because there's only one party, women, that can actually carry children to term, birth them and take care of them. Now, the taking care of them, men can also do that, but the inception of it all, this can also be changed by technology, but I'm not saying it does. All I'm saying is when you talk about being equal, we are not equal, but I think in society we have to be assigned equal value in one way or another for it to work. Because nobody wants to feel useless or less than. They've been treating men like this for the last 50 years. We don't like it, so we shouldn't also work to promote such a stance.
What can men do that we can't?
I mean, men build everything. We don't. Men protect us. They fight wars. We don't.
What do they protect
do.
us from? Other men?
Women have always fought in wars. Women have built so many things. So many things.
But in the world,
This is the problem we have with feminism, because they're delusional. They live, a lot of this actually happens in the West. It's not really anywhere else where people actually know exactly how useful men are in protecting them. Yes, from other men, from the environment, the climate, natural disasters, dangerous animals, even the microbes, the diseases. Who's come up with all the medicine to treat these people? So when you listen to these people talk, sometimes you understand the ideological possession has made their thinking capacities really dwindle to a point where they're not able to make logical arguments. They just really need to push the ideology. They want the ideology to win no matter what, even at the cost of the rest of society. The reason I was trying to really look at this video and show you what's going on, it's not that you haven't seen it, but you have to really look at these women and understand that, especially all of you guys say, no, any woman is good. No. Even a lot of these so-called conservative women are chameleons. I'm going to do a video later that's going to cover this conservative influence. I was going through it right now. There's a good lesson in that. But going back to this, even the conservative women want to be apologetic to the feminist narrative that we are equal but equal value. They're playing around with words other than just saying, no, men make and maintain everything and protect us from everything else, including other men. You see, they live in this world where they think men should just stop doing bad things. Like, how does that work? Most of the world, it is actually very difficult to live as a woman or a man for that matter, because life is hard. You deal with the environment every day. Life is hard. There's no a lot of the good things that have been made in the West that are basically covering these women from seeing the reality of the rest of the world. That's why they talk like this. Let's continue.
The
women
roads,
also weren't allowed
the
to.
buildings, the architecture. Men do all of that.
Women
Men
were
are the
also a part of
geniuses.
it, though.
It's way more male geniuses than are female geniuses.
That doesn't answer the question, though. The question was, what can they do, not what have they done?
Well, she's answering the question a little bit, but you're saying like they're more men geniuses. They stopped us from reading. They stopped
they
us from
didn't allow
going
us
to
to
school.
This is also a lie. Most people, period, were not going to school. Most men and women are not going to school. But you know, of course, the feminists have to assume the victim role, the victim position, so that it makes the argument a bit more palatable, but really it's nonsensical. They are lying, or they're very misinformed and ignorant. A lot of the times they work with all three. They're misinformed, they're ignorant, and they're lying at the same time.
Okay,
The
but
first
is that
black
an
woman
issue
lawyer
right now?
wasn't
So-
allowed to practice law. She got her law degree, but she wasn't allowed to even practice and be a lawyer. They stopped us
But
from
that's
this
not what
stuff.
modern feminism is about. That we have surpassed that already. You guys can read, you guys can vote, you can do everything you want to
But we're
do,
s-
and you keep making issues. This is why you always talking about the patriarchy and capitalism. You feed it. Okay? Why do you think that you are a feminist in the first place? They wanted you to work. That's what they wanted you to do. They wanted two people in a household to work versus one, right? But you hate capitalism, but you serve it. You would rather serve capitalism than serve your man, the man that was
There it
put
is.
here to
I'm a
protect
lesbian.
you.
Yeah, but does
whether
your
it's
man
from-
make enough money so that you don't have to work? This is my thing. These are, if we're talking about family units, these are two people. They get to decide what happens in their unit. And reality is some men are not going to be able to provide all that they can. Talk about
And why is that? She's just explained to you that because you flooded the market with labor, it became cheaper. I mean, sometimes, you know, when you listen to these people talk, they know what they're talking about, but the ideology and the advantages they get from this ideology cannot allow them to be honest. Why is one person not able to take care of a family? It's because they're not able to make more money because the labor market was flooded by another 50% of the population coming in. Of course, the labor is going to get cheaper. What are you talking about? That's why if you see in a lot of places, the labor that still keeps being paid a lot is, you know, the manual labor, building things. That's what's still getting paid because that has not been taken over with the AI and robotics, at least not for now. So, yeah, these things, you can see the pink hair, you know where this is going. There's a lot of rubbish.
pressure. I feel like feminism was good for men because it kind of relieved them of a little bit of pressure.
Lifted
Oh, shut up.
everybody up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It
but
really
it's
did.
made men so much more depressed than ever. It's made them weaker.
I think they just don't like the fact that now they see, oh, women can be as good as us because now that we're
No, this is another silly argument. What do you mean? You're not as good as men. Like, it's just a narrative. You are not as good as men. You don't make anything. Literally, even your eyebrows, those fake eyebrows, the eyelashes, the makeup, everything, even the augmentations of the breasts and the hips and the BBLs, it's men who come up with those things. What is she talking about? We are not afraid of women. It's never been that you can't be afraid of someone who's weaker and dumber than you, can you? At least they like to think that, but who's afraid of these people?
allowed to
why
have all
do
these
you have
rights.
to
Look how much-
talk to a
we're
man?
graduating
Why do
from
you have to
college
be
more
as
than
good
they
as
are now.
men? Why do you have to be?
Because we live in their world. And I'm saying because we live in this world with them where they are suppressing us, their bar's up here. If our bar gets lifted, so does theirs.
You see, they live in our world, they claim. At the same time, the one next to her, the pink-haired one, is claiming that they can do anything that men can do, but they're not doing it. They're saying, now we are afraid that they can do. Why are you not doing it? Why do you always need men to step aside, so to speak, for you to do anything? And you see, if this other one, the tattooed one, keeps claiming that if their level is raised and ours is raised higher, it's always how it's been, competition. That's what it is, competition, not being given things. But now you have to compete for everything and the position. And they can't compete, and they know that. That's why the endless victim narratives will never end. I would like to stop this video here because there's a lot more to it, and this is what I really wanted to touch on. I really don't like the good faith arguments. If you like, I would like to pick up on this a bit later, maybe look at the other topics that they're debating. This is a part one. And the idea is that, at least on my part, I do not want pretense, and especially we've gotten to a point where society has been destroyed so much because of this endless push for feminism and the so-called equal rights. It doesn't matter how much you want to equalize, they'll always want more. So as far as we are concerned, we have to continue fighting this game. I wanted you to hear these debates because more and more of these women are starting to move over to the conservative, to the family-oriented side, and we need more of that to happen if you really care about having a family. Personally, I'm not going to engage in that way. For me, I'm going to lease a womb. I'm going to lease a womb, and I'm going to pay it full, like Michael Jackson. I don't know what you guys think about this video. Please leave a comment down below. And of course, like the video for the algorithm, share the video to your friends, and especially your simp friends and your feminist friends, and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, peace.